If you spend all of your time listening to gurus, you are just simply not going to make it. The reality is in 2024, the amount of people on the internet telling you what to do, me being one of them right now, super genius, Giga Chad people on the internet like myself, they're everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. But the caveat to that is if you spend all of your time listening to other people about their strategies, telling you what to do, giving you advice, if you spend all of your time saying, oh shit, this person said do that, this person said do that, what about this? This person said that strategy is the best. If you get stuck in that sequence of analysis paralysis, you are absolutely screwed. So what I wanted to talk about in this video is not what to do, but it's more how to think and how to figure out what to do for yourself. Because I think a really big thing that's lost in today's generation is no one else is ever going to have the amount of context that you have about not only your business but your life, your relationships, your health, all of these things. It's very, very difficult for someone else to come into your world and give you good advice without knowing all of the context that you know. So you're either going to, have to spend hours and hours and hours giving someone else context, or you're going to have to just make a decision on your own. And even if you do spend hours and hours of giving someone context, you still might not want to do that because you might have left something out. And a really good example of this is when someone's complaining about their significant other. Let's just say you go to your mates. Let's say you're a male watching this, because I can't imagine there's too many females. If there are, shout out to you watching this video. It's probably my mum. Thanks, mum. But let's say you're going to your boys and you're saying, oh, my girlfriend's this, my girlfriend's that. I don't know how long this is going to last. Yada, yada, yada. Well, if you do that 5 times in a row and then you introduce your girlfriend to your friends, they're probably going to think your girlfriend's like not a good person or a piece of shit or anything like this. They're probably not going to have the best opinion of them. But the problem with that is that they didn't have the hours and hours and hours of extra context that you spent with that girlfriend to figure out that that girlfriend is actually a great person. They might be Mother Teresa herself, but because all they've heard about her is that, oh, well, she did this, she did that, they probably have very bad context. So let's say 3 weeks later you're saying, oh, I want to break up with her. Of course they're going to say yes. But that might be terrible advice. That might be absolutely the complete opposite advice of what's correct. And another example of that is, let's say you start up to work with a consultant, or you want to work with a new agency, and they say, oh, well, we really need to pursue this niche. This is the best niche for you. You need to go after this subsection of the market. This, let's say construction. Go after them full bore, 100%. But they might not know the context that you have, which you might have tried to work with them 3 years prior, and it might not have worked because of X, Y, and Z reasons, and then you completely burned out that market. And that's not to say you can't just tell them, but you get the point where no one else is going to know as much about your business or about your life or about your relationship, like I said, as you. So what that means is you are going to have to make these decisions yourself, and you're going to have to stop looking for outside influence about why XYZ thing is better compared to what your own knowledge is. So without yapping on too much, what I'm going to talk about in this video is simply how to think. And in my opinion and my experience, the best way to think is to look at everything that goes on within your business as a series of steps or a series of processes. Every single business is just a stack of processes, i.e., we send the outreach, we get the list, we make the script, we send the outreach, we get the response, then we reply to the response, we get them booked, we have a process for booking the call, we have a process for setting the call on the calendar, we have a process of getting them to show up, we have a process of getting them to do X, Y, Z. And each of these processes is essentially an opportunity for drop-off. Another example of this is, for example, you have an ad. You might have an ad hook or your process for your ad creative. Then you might be having a process for them to get to opt in, like a landing page. Then you have a process for getting them to book. There might be a video sales letter. Then you have a process for getting them to show up to sales call 1 and a process for getting them to sales call 2. It's the exact same way that when you're DMing a girl, you're going to have a conversation. You have a process for that. You're optimizing for the first date. Then you're going to have maybe 300 more dates. Then you might get married. Each of these things is a place where you can have drop-off, or where you can have a number of people that will reduce. So, for example, a certain amount of people are going to consume your ad. A certain amount of people are going to watch your VSL. A certain amount of people are going to book a call. A certain amount of people are going to come to the second sales call. And a certain amount of people are even going to show up to the first one. And then a certain amount of people are going to become a client. So what you're seeing in these arrows is like what I was saying. It's a series of processes. So if you think, oh, well, I have a series of processes. What happens when you track this? So let's say you have a number here. So I just added them in. Let's say you DM 10 girls, and then you have 4 conversations with those girls. Then you have 2 first dates.
Let's say both of them, you're really good at first dates. Let's say both of them progress to the next 300 dates. You know, you might be really good at those dates. You might have the riz of, you know, I don't know, James Bond. Let's just say you are. But at the end of the day, only one of those is going to convert into a marriage. So what you're looking here is, let's say we wanted to get 50 marriage applicants. What would we need to do in order to get 50 marriage applicants? Well, quite clearly, the drop-off here is that we don't have enough volume from the start to get 50 marriage applicants. It was never, ever, ever going to happen. So even if we were the best at conversating, and we were the best at dating, and we were the best at converting them to 300 more dates, and we were the best at getting them to want to marry us, there's no way we could ever get 50 marriage applicants because we only DM 10 girls. So what you need to do is think, okay, well, let's actually rejig it. Let's make it so we can do that. Okay, so let's say we just add a 0. So we 10x our outreach. So let's say we DM 100 girls. We get 40 conversations, 20 of them go to a date, 20 of them go to the next dates, and only 10 marriage applicants. Well, we're still shit out of luck because we still only have 10. So what we need to think is, okay, where's the next bottleneck? Oh, well, here, if we zoom in here, out of the 100 girls we're talking to, we only have 40 conversations. So we're never going to be able to get to the 50 applicants. Okay, here's the two things we can do. We can either increase our outreach again, or we can try and increase our conversion rate to conversation. This is the exact same way that you do it when you're sending cold emails. So if you're doing a cold email, you have a cold email, you have a reply, you have a positive reply, you might have some sort of sales asset like a Loom or a VSL or a lead magnet that you're directing that positive reply towards. Then that Loom or that lead magnet is going to be directed towards booking a call. Then you're going to have a process for getting them to show up to that call. Then you're going to have a process for, are these people qualified? And that's kind of a little bit separate here. Then you might have an audit. You might have some sort of bait that gets them on the call. Then you might have some sort of process for closing a client. So if you think, wow, I want to get 50 clients, just going away from slightly deviating from that marriage application. But if you think I want to get 50 clients, then there's a very clear way of doing that. We're going to have to send this many outreaches. So it might be, 10,000. Let's say 10K. We're going to get this many replies. Okay, let's say we got a bunch of positive replies, but none of them were watching the Loom. So we're finding these bottlenecks. And this is, bear with me, I'm saying this process, we're finding these bottlenecks. So we're looking here, the reason that we can't get 50 applicants is because we either aren't sending enough DMs or our conversion rate to conversation is not good enough. And this is where it comes in that you have to think for yourself. Number one, action step number one, the writing down that needs to occur right now is track the stuff. Track the stuff, because none of this actual thinking can occur without the tracking. If you are constantly in this cycle of thinking, I was not even thinking, it's just feeling, oh, we're not getting enough clients, or oh, I feel like we can't close deals, or oh, I feel like we're not getting enough customers. If you're constantly in that cycle, you're screwed from the get-go, because, spoiler alert, if you're in business, it's never going to feel good. If you're just going off your gut all the time, it's never ever going to feel good. Sometimes there is a time to go with your gut, but that's not all the time. That's not even close to all the time. Maybe you're one of these visionary types that's really good at seeing the vision, but even if you are that type of person, that doesn't exclude you from the need to go with the numbers, because the gut is going to lie all the time because it always hurts. You're always in a constant state of stress. There's always this going on. There's always that going on. It's very, very hard to consistently make good decisions without this data. So step one is get the actual data. Step two is going to be analyze that data. So we're looking and we're thinking, okay, we've got 100 DMs going out. We've got 40 conversations, 20 first dates, 20 more dates, and then 10 get married. What a silly business owner will do, will look at this and think, oh, well, I really need to get better at doing my first dates. Or they might say, you know what, I'm going to get really, really good at converting these dates into marriage applications. And the equivalent of that is, oh, well, I need to test 50 more A/B tests on scripts, or I need to post this many more videos, or I need to post this many more things. When in reality, all of the leverage, meaning the 2x or the 3x or the 4x that you can get in results, is probably going to be, in this instance, by increasing this number or increasing this conversion. But what you need to think about is it easier to 2x this number and make it 200, or is it easier to 2x this number? So how hard is it to increase that conversion rate? Now, ideally, we'd be doing both of those things, and we'd be sending more volume and increasing our conversion rate at the same time. That can be done by doing A/B tests and sending more different types of scripts and getting better at that. You might, hire a coach specifically for that thing, or you might bring in an employee specifically for that thing. But the whole point here is that this is clearly the area of focus, and we can only figure that out by tracking the data. And analyzing the data would suggest, okay, this is where we need to look. Hey, dumb face, hey, look here. This is where you're looking, not over here. So, for example, when it comes to something like cold email, this is just a random business process, or let's do something like ads because it might be a bit more generalized. People might be thinking, well, my close rate is 30%, but I'm going to go take sales training and I'm going to go focus on my sales ability. When in reality, the real problem is that their VSL doesn't book calls, and they're not booking calls for cheap enough. So they might spend years and years and years, not years, they might spend hours and hours and hours of their time training their sales team, getting new salespeople, all this stuff, when the VSL isn't booking calls, when that's the thing that's actually stopping them from getting all the clients, because maybe 100 people watch the VSL and only one of them book. But it's really the consensus that while every one of them that books, most of the time they close, well, guess what? You're not going to get any more clients because none of them are booking. You're getting a 1% booking rate, which actually isn't that bad, but let's just say hypothetically. So, action step, get the data, analyze the data, and then number 3, and this is where it comes in that you need to be thinking completely for yourself, is that next time you're thinking, oh, well, we need this, you just have to sit down and think. Just open a Google Doc. And think, okay, let's say my VSL isn't booking calls, or let's say my Loom video that I'm sending to prospects isn't booking calls. Let's just pull one up right now. Let's say hypothetically it's not booking calls. Let's get a page list set up right here. We'll do it right now. So VSL, so what you need to do is just write the problem. Problem, VSL not booking calls. And you just sit there and just look at the blank screen until you can come up with 5 solutions. So VSL not booking calls. Where is the drop off? Am I tracking where they turn off the VSL? Have I asked viewers for feedback? Do I suck at writing copy completely? Do I need to outsource this? Does it appeal to a painful problem? Is my VSL coherent with the messaging in the funnel? If my VSL is not booking calls as well, maybe it's also because I have no setters. So are my setters calling the leads? Do I even have setters? Do I have email flows? How good are they? Are my setters following up? What else can I do? Can I improve speed to lead? Is it under 5 minutes? How long do they take? So all of a sudden, when you're looking at this process of, if we go back here, my VSL isn't booking calls, all you had to do was sit down for literally 10 seconds and think of 10 ways that it could, 10 problems that it could be within that VSL. So step 3 is going to be, if we go all the way back to start, so get your data, look at the data and find the bottleneck. And then step 3 is just open a Google Doc and think for literally 1 minute. What is 10 things that I could possibly do off the top of my head that can improve my VSL, or that can improve my booking rate for my VSL? And if you can't think of 10, sit there for 10 minutes. Just stare at the blank screen and just think. I'm not sure. I don't think it's something that it takes a genius to do. I think it would take a real, like, it's kind of common sense almost just to think, oh, well, if my VSL isn't booking calls, even just something as simple as, even if it's just something simple as, have I rewritten it? Maybe I should make a new one. Even something as simple as that. That's not exactly like, oh my God, Leo, you're a GigaChat genius. You're just making revolutionary stuff. Like, I think me being a 40 IQ could think of this. Like, I don't think this is revolutionary business knowledge, especially when everything's on YouTube anyway. So especially when everything's on YouTube. So even if you can't think of these things, so let's say you are below room temperature IQ, aka can't think for self. Here's some options for you. YouTube, you have pay coach, you have pay done for you agency because they exist. You can do McDonald's careers. What else? Let me think of some options for the 40 IQers in the room or below 40 IQs. So YouTube, pay coach, pay done for you agency, McDonald's careers, rely on network. So if you're really good at making friends, so let's say you are room temperature, but you're really good at making friends, that's actually fine. It might even be better. Maybe you have a smart friend. You can just ask them, hey, have you ever gone through this? You might post to organic audience. I have X problem. Anyone know how to fix? That's pretty good as well. And even then, what you've done is you've identified, oh shit, I don't know anything about VSLs or VSL booking rate. What do I do? And you just have to brainstorm the next problem. So what this really is it's just a sequence of finding the next problem and just thinking, how do I fix that problem? It's hard in actuality. It's easy to say. You just have to find the problem. But really what's going on here is you just have to be very, very objective. Because even realizing that you don't know how to look at VSL booking rate, even if just admitting that takes a lot more cojones than it takes the average business owner, I think, because maybe I'm wrong in saying that, but it actually is really hard to be able to look at the problem if you are the problem and think this is what's going on. For the most part, people would much rather think, no, I'm not the problem. I'm good at VSLs. They'll say, I'm good at VSL. I already know how to write VSLs. I don't need help. That's not the problem. It's something else. Just to protect their ego. But if you can look at it and just say, oh shit, the VSL's not booking calls. Okay, have we gone through the problems that it could be? Okay, I don't know what it is. Ah shit, I can't think of it. I don't know what it is. And then all of a sudden you go to the backup plan, which, let's do that one. So hopefully this helps. This is, kind of took a bit of a turn for the more aggressive towards the room temperature IQs, but hopefully this helps. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video, and I'll talk to you soon.